Shilo Sanders faces setback after Buccaneers release, but his future remains uncertain. Introduction: a career at the crossroads. The National Football League has always been a place where dreams collide with reality. For Shilo Sanders, son of Hall of Famer Deion coach Prime Sanders, the dream was simple: prove he belongs at the professional level, carve out his own legacy beyond the shadow of his famous father, and silence critics who doubted his potential. The reality, however, struck harshly in late August, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers released the young safety following an ill-timed preseason incident. This was supposed to be Shilo's breakthrough opportunity. Signed as an undrafted free agent, he was already facing an uphill climb in one of the most competitive environments in sports. Every snap mattered. Every mistake was magnified. And when that mistake came, in the form of a punch thrown during a heated exchange with Buffalo Bills tight end Zach Davidson, it wasn't just a penalty. It was a career-altering moment. Now, with the Buccaneers moving on and the NFL world questioning whether another team will give him a chance, Shilo stands at a crossroads. His story is one of promise interrupted, of potential questioned, but also of resilience and reinvention. The next chapter of his life remains unwritten, and whether it takes place on the football field, in the entertainment industry, or in entirely new arenas, will depend on how he chooses to respond to this very public setback. The preseason struggle. One punch that changed everything. Shilo Sanders entered training camp with the Buccaneers as part of a crowded safety room. Competing with established players and fellow rookies alike, he knew the odds were stacked against him. But Sanders wasn't a stranger to challenges. At Colorado, under the bright spotlight of playing for his father, he carved out a role as a tough, versatile defender with a nose for the football. Coaches praised his energy, his leadership, and his willingness to embrace physical play. That same intensity, however, boiled over in the worst possible moment. In the preseason finale against the Buffalo Bills, Sanders got tangled up with tight end Zach Davidson. Emotions flared, and in a split second, Sanders threw a punch. The referees wasted no time ejecting him from the game. The NFL wasted no time fining him for unnecessary roughness. For most rookies, especially undrafted free agents, preseason is about proving maturity, discipline, and consistency. Unfortunately for Sanders, the punch did the opposite. In the eyes of Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles, it was inexcusable. And when roster cuts loomed, Sanders didn't survive. Within 24 hours, he was waived, his NFL dream suddenly hanging by a thread. Todd Bowles' firm stance. Head coach Todd Bowles has built his reputation on discipline, accountability, and no-nonsense leadership. For Bowles, there was no gray area in Sanders' case. He didn't mince words. The ejection and altercation were unacceptable. Any mistake can make or break a career, and in Shilo's case, it was enough to put his football future in jeopardy. Bowles explained after the game, "When you're fighting for a roster spot, there's simply no room for those kinds of mistakes." It wasn't just about the punch. It was about timing. Shilo Sanders was already on the roster bubble. His performance in practices had been encouraging, but not dominant enough to guarantee him a place on the team. For undrafted rookies, coaches look not only at talent but at reliability. And when the ejection occurred, it tilted the scales against him. The weight of family legacy. To understand the full impact of Shilo's release, one must also consider the larger-than-life shadow he has lived under his entire life. His father, Deion Sanders, is one of the most iconic figures in sports history. Known as prime time during his Hall of Fame playing days, Deion redefined swagger in football, dominating both the NFL and Major League Baseball, before becoming a head coach at Jackson State and later the University of Colorado. Deion's charisma, fame, and coaching acumen have kept the Sanders name in constant circulation within football circles. His children, including Shedeur Sanders, who now plays quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and Shilo himself, have grown up in that spotlight. That legacy is both a blessing and a curse. It opens doors, creates opportunities, and generates media attention. But it also magnifies failures. When Shilo was released by the Buccaneers, it wasn't just another undrafted rookie being cut. It was Coach Prime's son. The headlines were bigger. The spotlight was brighter. The scrutiny was harsher. Support from family and allies. In the aftermath of his release, Shilo did not face the storm alone. His father immediately offered public support, acknowledging his son's mistake but reaffirming belief in his resilience. Shilo understands he messed up, Dion said, but he's ready for what's next. He's got the talent, the work ethic, and the heart to bounce back. Dion's words mattered because they conveyed two truths: accountability for the error, but also confidence in recovery. For a young player grappling with doubt, that support is invaluable. Other voices in the football community chimed in as well. Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe, a longtime family friend, addressed the situation in a discussion with Chad Johnson. He didn't sugarcoat it. Inexcusable, Sharpe said of the punch and ejection. That kind of stuff can stick with you. You don't get many chances in this league, especially when you're not drafted. Discipline matters as much as talent. Sharpe's critique, though blunt, underscored the high stakes of professional football. It was a reminder that the NFL is a business where hundreds of hopefuls fight for a handful of roster spots, and any lapse in judgment can close doors permanently. Career beyond football? While football has been central to Shilo's identity, he has never been confined to the sport alone. Even before the Buccaneers signed him, Sanders had explored other passions. He dabbled in music, experimented with modeling, and even tested his acting chops. Notably, he portrayed a young version of his father in the third season of the television series BMF. The role showcased his ability to channel charisma on screen, a natural extension of the personality he inherited from Coach Prime. Fans and critics alike noticed the potential. Since his release, Shilo has been vocal about keeping his options open. "If that's in the NFL, cool," he said. "But God has blessed me with a lot of talent to do things other than football." Those words weren't empty. They were an admission that while the NFL may be the dream, it isn't the only path. This willingness to explore opportunities beyond football highlights Shilo's resilience. Where some might crumble under rejection, he seems intent on using it as fuel, whether to find another NFL team or to grow in new directions entirely. The Ball family comparison. Observers have drawn parallels between the Sanders family and another sports dynasty, the Ball family in basketball. Led by outspoken patriarch LeVar Ball, the family produced three professional players: Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo Ball. Their journey was marked by heavy media attention, bold marketing, and mixed success. Lonzo became an NBA starter. LaMelo developed into an all-star. LiAngelo, however, struggled to find a permanent home in the league. After bouncing between the G League and overseas opportunities, he pivoted to other ventures, using his notoriety to build a career outside the NBA. For some analysts, Shilo Sanders may find himself in a similar situation. His brother Shadur, like LaMelo, is seen as a future star in his sport. Shilo, meanwhile, may need to embrace reinvention. As one commentator put it, LiAngelo found a way to make a name for himself even without a permanent NBA career. Shilo might have to do the same in football or beyond. The comparison isn't meant to diminish Shilo. Instead, it underscores the importance of adaptability in the modern sports landscape. Fame, branding, and versatility can sometimes matter as much as stats and wins. Learning from mistakes. The biggest question now is how Shilo Sanders learns from this moment. His punch against Zach Davidson was a mistake, but mistakes don't have to define careers. Countless athletes have rebounded from early missteps to carve out successful paths. The difference lies in accountability, maturity, and growth. Shilo has already expressed gratitude for his time in Tampa Bay, calling his teammates and coaches supportive and thanking the city for embracing him. That humility, paired with the lessons learned from this setback, could serve him well moving forward. As he put it himself, "I feel like this is just part of my story to grow and do bigger and better things. Whether it's finding another team, whether it's getting another opportunity in the NFL, it is what it is." Conclusion. The next chapter awaits. The story of Shilo Sanders is still unfolding. His release from the Buccaneers is a setback, yes, but it is not the end. At 24, he has time to regroup, to refine his craft, and perhaps earn another shot in the NFL. If that door doesn't open, he has the personality, talent, and charisma to thrive in other industries. What remains certain is this: Shilo is determined to write his own story. He has no interest in being just Deion Sanders' son or Shedeur Sanders' brother. He wants to be Shilo Sanders, a man defined not by one mistake, but by how he responds to it. In the NFL, resilience is as vital as ability. And in life, setbacks often precede comebacks. For Shilo, the future may be uncertain, but the possibilities are endless.